Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to be showing you one of the ways that we will actually build cabinet carcasses. This one will just be pocket screwed. We'll get into other videos for different forms. Let's actually kill the jazz music, please. Perfect. Okay. Now we're talking. Okay, so whenever we build cabinets, we can always build them several different ways. Different clients, prefer to pay more or pay less depending on how they want them assembled. So this video I'll just be showing you how we assembled them with pocket screws. Obviously pocket screws aren't going to inherently be the strongest joint or the strongest cabinet, but through different forms of testing and stuff, they do hold up really well if done right. So that's what I'm going to be showing you today. So in this slide here, you'll notice that if you add up these four numbers to the left here, you'll get 10 pieces. And the way we approach this is that a Carcass is basically a 10-piece assembly. So you notice we have two side panels, we have 6 stretchers. If you wanted to be a little bit more technical, you could say 5 stretchers and 1 toe kick. But the way we assemble it, all of the stretchers and toe kick are the same size. So we just treat them all the same. 1 back panel and then 1 bottom panel. So whenever you put all of those together, you'll get a 10-piece assembly, and this will all make sense as we start cutting into stuff in about 10 seconds. Now, I know what you're thinking. What the heck is he doing? Don't worry, I'm going to tell you. So, all plywood that comes in, obviously they have factory edges on them, but due to transport and stuff, normally they're dinged up or something's wrong with them. So we'll set back 1/4 of an inch, cut our own factory edge, and then we'll pull our tape from that edge. If you wanted to be more conservative, you could do 1/8 of an inch, which would just be the width of the blade, but I like to stick with the 1/4. Now, for this particular cabinet, we're making it 22 inches wide, right? So we're using 3/4 birch, which in actuality is 11/16. So when we add that up, we get 1 inch and 3/8. So all of our inside cuts of our bottom panel and our stretchers and our toe kick are going to be 20 and 5/8 long. Something to add to this right here is it's always really important to measure all of your materials when you order it in, especially if you're getting from a different distributor or even if it's just a different material. The difference between domestic birch as opposed to import birch, or birch to oak, or oak to maple, or oak to whatever it is, they'll always be slightly different. So we'll always take and cut basically a little strip of both of them, butt them together, and then measure them and get that exact measurement. And then that will tell us what the inside measurement of all of the carcass widths will need to be, minus the side panels. Well, that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is what we like to call gorgeous. Look at that. Oh yes, everybody's favorite tool in existence, the table saw. So those two right there, one of them was the bottom panel, and then one of them was the other side that actually has to be ripped up for stretchers. This one right here is both side panels. As you'll notice in a second here, we actually will cut everything slightly big so that we can then feed it through a second time and cut off the other factory edge on the opposite side, like right here. So I'm cutting, what was that? So I'm cutting a little bit of that extra off to get it to our exact width or length, which would have been 20 and 5/8. Same thing, side panels, ripping off a tad extra, and then that way we'll have 2 good finished sides to choose from whenever we decide to start assembling the cabinets here. When we're trying to save time and be more consistent, we will make a block. For instance, this is a 4-inch block, and we will use that instead of using a tape measure 100,000 times a week. Like always, guys, label your stuff. Okay, so now I have a router table set up with a 1/4 inch groove bit. Now, depending again on the material, it might need to be a 1/4 inch, it might need to be 5 millimeter, it might need to be 3/16 of an inch. That really just depends on what thickness the back panel is going to be made out of. Now, as you'll notice, this groove is full of sawdust, so what I like to do is just run it through the router table a second time very quickly, and it will get rid of all of that sawdust, and then you'll be good to go to move on to the next board. Now, as you can see, I'm doing the two side panels. For this particular project, we were using a UV1 birch, which means that one side of it already came pre-finished, so we will be making sure to put the grooves on the finished side of the side panels. Alright, so next up here is the toe kick that you have to cut into the side panels. So again, we like to use blocks for this that we already have marked out. This block is 4 inches tall and basically 3 inches deep. And so we'll just mark it on there, and then the easiest way, especially in a really small shop or something, is just with the jigsaw. So we'll just cut it with the jigsaw, either one by one, or we'll clamp them together like I did in this clip right here, and then cut them both at the same time. Next up, we're busting out the foreman. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually drill pocket screws into all the stretchers and toe kick, as well as the bottom panel. Whenever we do these, we like to do 2 on each side, and then we like to space it about roughly 6 to 12 inches on the inside span of all the stretchers and the toe kick. Now we have our bottom panel. You can go a little bit more crazy on this guy. I'll normally put them every 2 to 3 inches spanning from front to back of the cabinet. Obviously, make sure that your pocket screws are going on the opposite side of the board where the groove is. Oh yes, it's all coming together. When you're assembling cabinets, you don't have to use corner clamps. Obviously we like to, because they work great for this kind of stuff in particular. Now please stand by as I turn up the music. Now on this stretcher, I'm setting it forward so that we actually have room for our back panel to slide down into the groove. You'll see that in a second. Oh hey, didn't see you there. Now I'll just center the 2 side panels on top of each other and then attach the stretchers in the same place as on the opposite side panel. Man, I really did use a lot of screws on this cabinet. Now we'll take our bottom panel and put it into the cabinet, square it up, clamp it on, and then we can screw it into the side panels. This bottom panel especially is important to make sure you cut it square. So pull your diagonals before you pocket screw it and screw it all together, because it will determine how square your cabinet is once you're done. Now these two stretchers right here, we're actually going to put on the back side of that groove because we want them hidden behind the back panel once we put the back panel in its groove. Alright, we're getting close. I'm going to really quickly measure the inside so I can cut my back panel. The math on this is pretty simple. If we cut a 3/8 inch groove on either side, we will normally add 5/8 of an inch to the inside dimension for our back panel to slide into those grooves. Now before I screw/nail this back panel in place, I will pull the front to make sure everything is square. Oh, look at that. More pocket screws. If you really wanted to make sure the back panel doesn't go anywhere, you could take it out of the groove, apply some glue, and then put it back. Cue the reveal.
So this is a 10-piece assembly for a Carcass. Obviously it's not a finished cabinet by any means, because we still need a face frame on here, and then we need our fronts, which are doors and drawers, and then anything that goes inside of it. For this one in particular, this is actually a 3-drawer stack, like we kind of showed earlier in the video. So we didn't have to drill like any shelf pins or anything. If there weren't drawers going here and you're going to have a door here, then you would want to put shelf pins, and we'll show that in another video. But yeah, so we've got our 3/4 face frame that go on the front of it, and then we'll have a 24 deep cabinet by 34.5 tall, and this in particular is a 22-inch wide cabinet. So this is the Carcass for it.